It's Julia Renee.
And Kendall Aaliyah. Welcome back to the Know Your Power podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the KYP podcast. In my brain, I was like, do you say KYP or do you say Know Your Power? And then I took a pause because that's what happened. Today, we're going to be talking about discipline and how it is the truest form of self-love. So I talked about this on a live Instagram and with my clients too, because I truly believe this to my core. And this is going to be a really good episode for anybody that feels like maybe you feel like you're crushing it right now, or maybe you feel like you're spiraling, or maybe you're like, discipline is the thing that I need. Or if I just had motivation, if I just had this. I literally had someone actually message me this morning, like, I wish I had your motivation. I was like, that's not it, baby girl. It's really not it. But we're not talking about motivation. But today I really wanted to kind of reframe what discipline really means, and not so much as like punishment, but more of like self-respect and action. Because I feel like we've kind of been taught that there's like this negative connotation around discipline, right?
I agree. I think it's in that same realm of like
Grind.
Hustle, work harder, no days off, when in reality, I think it is more of like a tool that can be very lighthearted and actually lead to like a happy outcome instead of like a self-destructive outcome.
Exactly. And that's like, I feel like we do that as humans. Like, we can take a good thing and just like fucking ruin it.
Of course.
You know?
We're great at that.
But I feel like it's a lot about right now, like control and like restriction and punishment. But I feel like real discipline is just devotion, and devotion to like your goals, yourself, like how you show up in life, and just how you hold yourself accountable to what you say you're going to do. And most importantly, just keeping the promises that you make to yourself, because there's so many times like in a day where we promise we're going to do something. We promise we're going to wake up on time, not snooze our alarm, that we're going to make a phone call, send an email, go to the gym, eat healthy. And we just keep breaking that promise with ourselves. And like, it's exhausting, and it can lead you to feeling kind of hopeless. Like, can I do anything? You know what I mean? I just don't like that feeling. But
I feel like we've all had someone else in our life too that we watch. Like, I think in ourselves, it's harder to recognize. But if someone, like, say you have a partner and they're always like, I'm going to take you on a date this weekend, and then they don't. I'm going to take you on a date this weekend, and then they don't. Like, using it in that sense of like, if you're not saying, like, if you're not staying true to your word, if you're saying you're going to do something and you don't, like, that doesn't feel good from someone else. Of course, it's not going to feel good for ourselves either, of like, I said I was going to do this thing, I didn't, and now I'm mad at myself over it.
That's
you know?
so true. Because when like another person does that to you, you start to lose trust in their word and their like integrity and their follow through. So you kind of just give up on expecting them to do those things, versus if they say, I'm going to take you on a date, and they take you on a date, like, you know that you can count on them. The same thing happens with us. Like, if you keep making those promises to yourself and you want to stay disciplined and you just keep not, you start believing it's never going to happen.
Yeah, you're like,
know?
I can't.
And it's really hard to get out from that, because you feel like you're at the bottom of this well and you're trying to like climb yourself out of it. And I feel like that's why discipline feels so challenging, because it seems like it's a very long walk. But I want to kind of view it more as like not punishment, but proof that you have so much belief in who you're becoming, and that you know that every time that you follow through with something, that you are building like that, even it's better body, better mindset, better relationships, and that relationship with yourself. And that you know that I hold myself to a high standard, and this is how I walk around life. Not to the detriment of your own mental health, because I feel like that's what discipline is viewed at maybe as of now. But I also, when I was diving into this, was starting to realize that when we were young, like, discipline didn't really mean what I feel like it means now. It was more so like, you messed up, like, you did something wrong. Go in timeout, sit in the corner.
That's true. I think that's because like literally self-realizing this right now, because that was like external discipline pushed on you.
True.
I feel like self-discipline is like obviously way more fulfilling and way more positive because like you're the one in control. I think like I agree, discipline was used as like a form of punishment of like you did something wrong instead of like, oh, let's work to do this thing right, if that makes sense.
Exactly. And like why doing it this way would be beneficial for you. And like you showing up and like even just something as simple as not cleaning up your toys. Like instead of going and sitting in the corner and being punished and time out, then explaining why. Like it is important for you to follow through with cleaning up your toys because you said that you would, and this is how it's going.
And the room's clean, and then you feel good.
But honestly, that just takes a lot. It does take a lot of effort, and some parents don't want to do that. And trust me, like we're not parents, so I can't even imagine having to do all of that work. But we will be there. But yeah, I feel like it was very much like you messed up, you did something bad, like there's a punishment behind it, even if we go into high school sports and stuff like that. How many of you guys were disciplined in high school sports?
How many of us ran suicides or an extra lap or whatever it looked like?
I remember for wrestling practice, like if we were late or like if we didn't, I don't know, if there was something wasn't cleaned up in a certain amount of time, like we would have to run, we would have to like drill. There was even times where we had to piggyback on one another. Like we would carry another person and run with the people uphill.
For me, I'm like low-key grateful for this one, but diving, our like discipline or repercussion was doing like hundreds of sets of abs. And I'm like, that's why I got abs today.
Dang.
Thanks, coach. I needed to be apparently disciplined quite often. I did a lot of abs growing up.
Yeah, no. I feel like I'd honestly maybe do the running before that.
Really?
That's,
See, but I think like I did so much abs that it was easy. I'm like, I'll bang out a quick 100 V-ups.
For me, I was like, like I did so much running at that point for cross country and for wrestling.
You're like a lap's nothing.
Whatever.
But yeah, agreed. It was always like some form of punishment or like you didn't show up with self-discipline, so I'm going to like force you into doing this disciplined act.
Yeah. And I feel like it's so easy for us to now like associate that in which we learned as children, like, and bring it into our adulthood and almost like rebel against it and like try to, it comes from like now a place of self-judgment instead of like self-respect that you're going to show up and do what you say you're going to do. So I feel like discipline is commonly talked about as like the voice that's like, you should be doing more, you screwed up. Like we all have that little voice. Like I still have it where I don't do something like I thought that I should do it. I'm like, oh, you messed up. Like
for sure.
That's awful. And I'll sit in that like for way too long versus like, imagine if you can also like address that, okay, this isn't how I wanted to show up, but use it more as like inspiration and motivation to say like, okay, I got you. Now let's pivot. Let's freaking go and we'll show up for ourselves. I feel like it would just...
Well, that too, I think recognizing it's never too late to create discipline. I think once we hit that point of like, I didn't do all these things in the past and I'm giving up on myself and like, there's no point in even trying anymore. Like we've all hit that point. And I think it's just like, okay, start today. Start with something small today. Like do that one action you've been putting off today where like when my mental health's really bad, I've talked about this in the past, like even little things like doing the dishes or cleaning out my car, like those little tasks get so hard where that's still a form of discipline where I'm not showing up for myself, where I'm like letting myself slip lower and lower. And then you feel even crappier and crappier about it because you know you should be doing these little things. Yeah. So I think like just recognizing it's not too late and you shouldn't force yourself into like your own self-punishment. You could just stand up and start.
Yeah. I mean, even things that seem very little, like showing up on time or that like don't have the greatest like impact and effect on
but they still don't feel good. Yeah, if you don't do them.
Yeah. It's like they matter because it is a reflection of how you'll show up like in other things. You know, if you're say that you're going to do the dishes or you're going to take out the trash or you're going to meet a friend at a specific time, like if that's showing up there, where else is it showing up in your own life? And is that the reason that you're not achieving your goals? And it can be a really like it could be a hard pill to swallow because it's definitely easier to point the finger. But I feel like this kind of discipline, the one that's a little bit more loving and isn't so harsh and like based on punishment, it's consistent, like it's grounded, and it's that version of you that just keeps showing up. Like, not because you're scared of like screwing up or fearful of like what's going to happen, but because you have so much belief in yourself that you can and that you're capable of doing it. But one thing that I wanted to go over, and I have a little list here, is some other reasons why we could be lacking discipline and we don't really realize it. Because often people that lack discipline, it's associated with they're just lazy, they're not trying, like all of that. And I was very much at that place before too. And it can come from like a number of different reasons. And the first one being like, we don't really think that highly of ourselves. We just
if you don't believe you're capable of doing something, you'll like prove yourself right and not do it.
We will go to extreme lengths to prove ourselves right. It's insane.
Yep.
Like I even had I was messaging somebody on Instagram, I believe, and she was talking to me about how every time that she gets close to competing in a show, she backs out. She backs out. She backs out. And she was telling me that like she just gets so scared that she's not going to be good enough or that she is going to be good enough. So then she basically fears it so much. She fears failing so much that she fails on purpose. And I was like, isn't that crazy? And she's like, yeah, it is crazy.
Because there is a little bit of comfort I think we get in like having control over the situation.
Yeah, because you're like, I know this result.
I know I'm going to fail. Yeah. That's like when people have goals that they never even start going for. Like the easiest example I can use is like a lot of people come to me because like I've owned my own business my whole adult life with like my in-home personal training. And they'll be like, oh, I've always had this idea for this thing. And I'm like, oh, like, what have you done to start? Like, how can I help you? Any questions you have? And they're like, oh, well, like I've done nothing. I've done no research on it. And it's like, so you're not even taking step one because you don't believe in the success of yourself. Like, it's crazy that we won't even try. You won't even like shoot that goal because you're scared of not making the goal.
Yeah. I think we're also conditioned to get shot down pretty easily with like goals and dreams and aspirations. Like you're called like a dreamer, you're called like, I think it's definitely better now. Like I even had like a conversation maybe a couple years ago just with my grandma, and I think I've touched on this before, where, you know, she's so proud of me, you know, and she's like, Julia, this wasn't even possible when I was a kid. She's like, this wasn't even, so much so that it wasn't even a thought in my mind.
Yeah.
And if it was, like, it would have gotten shot down immediately.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
That is crazy how far we've come.
I was like, wow. Like, because there's sometimes where I'll sit here and I'm like, oh, like my life is so hard. And like when you have the comparison of like, I would not have been able to do what I'm doing now then when my grandma was growing up. So it's just like, there's some times where, maybe we don't feel that we're even worthy enough to do the thing that we want to do that requires a little bit more discipline. So another one is the fear of failure, which we touched on, where it's like, you start to think, okay, I've been down this road before. What is going to make this time any different? So you're using your past experience to justify your present reality. And if you keep doing that, it keeps you stuck in the same loop. Like, this is why a lot of us will continue to date the same kind of person in a different meat sleeve.
Meat sleeve is crazy, but yes.
Right? Because like you have been down that road before. What is it like? Is it going to be any different? And you unintentionally create the same pattern, like unconsciously or consciously create the same pattern, attract the same people. And there's a reason behind that, you know? And until you recognize, like, why do I keep picking the same kind of people? Why do I keep sabotaging my success? Why do I keep like losing and gaining weight, whatever it is? Where does that really come from? We're going to continue to create the same pattern because it's safe, it's comfortable, we know it. It's not the best, but at least we know what to expect, right?
I feel like that takes the most inner work to recognize like pattern changes of like, again, like when you are so low and you don't believe in yourself and you don't think you're capable of anything or deserve anything, or like that you are going to fail anyway, it's so much easier to like live in that house you built for yourself, when like dreaming and going for goals and setting goals seems like the scary thing, when in reality, like once you just start and hit like one tiny little goal. That's why, like, also every time we've talked about goal setting in the past, it's like create obtainable goals. Of course, if you're like, I'm gonna go land on the moon tomorrow, it's like, come on now, you're setting yourself up for failure there too by like shooting so crazy, you know, when in reality, if your goal was just like, I'm going to do cardio 2 times a week this week.
Yeah.
Sick. Let's go get it done.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to look a certain way. You're not going to fail at that.
Yeah. Or even like just backtracking and breaking it down. It's like, you know, you can start with that big dreamer goal and you have it in mind, but I feel like we'll often be sitting here with our current version of ourselves, and we're looking at that version, and she seems like she's so far away. She's years down the road, and you're trying to get from point A to point Z, and it's scary. That's where people are like, nah, it's too much. It's like, well, what would that version of you do today, right now, that would get you steps closer? She would hit her cardio. She would do her meal prep, like stuff like that.
Yeah, it can be easily digestible. I think we just like work it so large in our brain.
We're like, oh, I'm gonna psych myself out. Another one is like nervous system dysregulation, where it's like discipline feels like such an unnatural thing. I mean, and mainly because we haven't held ourselves accountable at this caliber before. Like, that's why I always like to use the example that when you're trying to like undo, rewire a pattern that you have that's no longer serving you, it feels like you're walking through quicksand. So when you're walking through quicksand, if you tried to get right out, right, it seems like something pulls you back in. That's what it feels like. And that's why a lot of people, me included, were like, why is it so hard? It shouldn't be this hard. Like, I would look at people and say, they could do it, but like I can't. Yeah. And it's just because it's something that you're not used to.
I think it's just a practice thing where, especially like if we're talking about bodybuilding or like getting into like weight training, it is such a like, it's like a form of a sport that you're doing solely by yourself, right? So like maybe you were disciplined as an athlete back in like high school or college, but you had a coach telling you what to do every day. You had a practice time. You had to show up. People were there. It's a lot harder doing that on your own. I also think like recognizing and praising yourself every time you do show up, of like, no one's holding your hand and forcing you to be here. And I also think that's why like hiring a coach, hiring a personal trainer can be like so beneficial, especially when you don't yet have these practices developed, because then you still have like external accountability.
Yes. And that's why so many like athletes post high school, post college kind of like lose it. I was one of those. Where you kind of have this identity crisis where you're not an athlete anymore. You're not required to perform. You don't have to eat a certain way, and no one's telling you what to do. I was like, yes, I've been weightlifting for years with wrestling and running cross country and practice. And I was like, but I don't know how to do it on my own and hold myself accountable myself. Yeah. And then I had to relearn all of that. So
that just takes practice, I think, when you're not used to doing it for yourself or by yourself, especially to like the people fresh out of high school or college. And like, this is a brand new endeavor. And like, you're trying to create discipline in every aspect of your life without having your parents and a coach and teachers like looking over you. It can be hard.
You also like are maybe not living at home anymore.
Yeah.
And you have like
so much change.
I have so much freedom, but I don't know like what to do with it. Yeah. And the last one is living in survival mode, to where you every day just feels like you're surviving rather than thriving. You know what I mean? Like, I remember what this felt like surviving, even as far as money goes. Like, I remember there was a time like I had $2 in my account and I was like not going to get paid. And when I was getting paid, it was very little to survive off of. I had $2 in my account. I was so hungry and I was like, well, I'm going to go buy a pack of ramen and I will wait until like my next payday. And then I was just surviving at that point, you know, but then also like the way that I operated through life wasn't very positive either. Like, I was snoozing my alarm like a gajillion times before waking up, doing my makeup, driving to work, getting a giant coffee when it's like, okay, if you're surviving and you don't have the finances, why are you getting a coffee it didn't make sense. It wasn't aligning. And I can see that now.
Yeah. I think same exact boat for when my mental health was really bad, where it's like everything feels like it's almost like all the choices you make are like working against the thing you actually want, like working you away from your goal, where it's like that prove yourself right mentality of like, I don't have money, so I'm going to spend it on this like
so weird,
not most responsible purchase right now, or I'm going to like go run from my problems instead of face them and like start tackling certain
because
to-do
like
lists.
in a cynical way, when we're struggling, we kind of like to be there. Sometimes there's kind of it might seem like easier to be there at that moment. And both Kendall and I have struggled a lot. Like we've struggled in our past, like mental health and eating disorder. And there's times where I can now look back where it was almost more comfortable for me to sit in that than it was to get out.
Yeah.
Like to get out seemed harder than to stay there.
Yeah, because you've been there for so long.
Yeah, you're
exactly
like, well,
what you're saying. Yeah.
It's better the devil I know than the devil I don't, right? So with all this being said, it's like you're not inconsistent, you're not broken, like you're not different. There's not something wrong with you. Like other people weren't just gifted with more discipline than you.
Yeah.
I once believed that too. It's just that you've been consistently breaking your own heart.
Yep.
Over and over and over again. And that like tears you down. Like it doesn't feel good. And that's why it feels like you're like, I'm down here and I want to be up there. Like, how do we get there? And it's just these little baby steps. And I think a lot of us feel that if we were just like more motivated, then we would have more discipline. But that's why I was talking about that girl that messaged me this morning. And I was like, this is so perfect because I'm talking about this today.
Yeah.
And I told her this exactly. It's like motivation is more emotional and it's emotion based when discipline is more spiritual, because every time that you ghost yourself, abandon yourself, you ghost your goals, like you start to slowly chip away at that belief in yourself. And that's way deeper. That's way more spiritual than I'm on my period and my hormones are, I'm like a little like emotional or whatever, and I'm not motivated to go to the gym.
Yeah.
You know, like that's more
Motivation.
emotional.
Yeah.
Motivation is more emotional. Discipline is more spiritual
Yeah,
and a little bit
discipline
more
does
rooted.
feel like a deep wound when you like really give up on yourself. I feel like we all could have at least one time in like our recent life where we really just like gave up on something we
Yeah.
were working towards, and like it feels shitty. To be so honest with you, like it doesn't feel good. Even if you have to rewire what your goal is, like when you completely give up on working on something or showing up for yourself, like I feel like it happens gradually sometimes. And then we wake up one day and we're like, how did I get here? And then it's like a panic mode of like, I've lost all of that.
Well, what I'm starting to realize now is that it's maybe not even necessarily that you're giving up on that like specific goal. What hurts more is that you're actually giving up on yourself.
Yeah. You stop believing in yourself.
Yes, like you gave up on your ability to do it. You gave up on the dream. You gave up on the thing, you know, and that doesn't mean that it can't pivot. Like you said, I've had a lot of goals that I thought were my goals, and then I was like, you know what? Actually, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's the giving up on yourself that hurts more than giving up on your weight loss journey.
Yeah. True.
Yeah,
That's why it hurts so bad.
That's a heartbreaker. Okay, so I wanted to go over really quickly because I don't want this to be too long. The 4 forms of discipline. So number 1 is mental discipline, and this is mastering your mind so that it doesn't master you. We have this little computer that's up here. You know, sometimes it's like a movie just running and running and running. And the fact is that you're the one that's operating it. So mental discipline, it's the practice of protecting that inner world and choosing which thoughts that you want to give your energy to and which ones like do not deserve.
I feel
your
like
time.
that's such a good way to view it, because like like self-sabotage, I think, is something we all frequently do, and it's a pattern. And I think recognizing it like a computer of like, I'm not recognizing that pattern, I'm creating a new one, is like kind of the like logistical way of viewing discipline, of like just truly selecting the positive option of the two, or the one that gets you like where you're trying to go.
Exactly. It's like you have, say you like questioning going to the gym, and like your brain has a bunch of like things that will pop up in response to, I want to go to the gym, and you get to select which one you go with. Like you like you do. And there's so many different options. It's like the go, don't go, skip today, go tomorrow. Like there's so many things you get to choose.
And you know which one of those is going to make you feel good.
You do. I mean, you really
Deep
do.
down you do.
You really do. And that's like mental discipline. So thinking about it as like your inner world and protecting like your energy there, and the thoughts that you give energy to and the thoughts that you don't. There's discipline in that. There's discipline in like monitoring how you're speaking to yourself in your inner world. Like, you know,
this is, I will say, the catalyst that like changed my life, because I used to, this kind of ties to that, like you might not have discipline because of self-doubt or like not feeling worthy. And as soon as you start like, or stop telling yourself that narrative of like, you don't deserve that, you're not capable of that. Like as soon as you switch those thoughts into like, I am capable, I am worthy, I do deserve these things, like actually doing the thing becomes so much easier.
Yeah, that's how so many other aspects of your life start to shift. Once you have the realization that you have the ability to choose. You always have the ability to choose. And some days you might choose a little darker thought. And some days you might choose something that's more positive and actually align with yourself.
As long as the positives are more often, then you're on the right track. Because of course the negatives are going to come up. Of course they're like,
it's
can
not
I really
about,
do
like,
this?
Eliminating them. It's about, what do I do when they do pop up?
Yeah.
How do I respond? So that's the first one, is mental. The second one is emotional discipline. And this is like basically kind of like the opposite of what discipline is viewed at now, but this is like feeling everything, like feeling all of the things. Like if you're angry, feeling angry in a healthy way. If you're sad, feeling sad, you know, reaching out to friends, but feeling it, but still choosing to lead yourself through it.
Yeah. I feel like this one comes up when you like tell people about your goals and dreams and what you're working on, and then kind of give you like are you sure you can do that? Are you really capable of that? I don't think that you can do that. I feel like that's when that emotion comes up, and that's when you have the choice to go like, they're right, and I'm a failure and I'm going to stop working towards it, or going, F you, watch this. I'm going to work even harder and lean into discipline even more.
That's me.
Like that's like the most stark emotional responses I have to things.
Yeah. I'm like, tell me I can't.
Yeah.
I'm like, say it again.
Yeah.
Do it. I'm like, it actually helps me.
I love proving someone wrong, even if they like they have no clue that my whole business is a vendetta against them.
That's my toxic trait. My toxic trait is like, I will literally succeed so hard just to...
I told someone once, you're going to love this. It's so toxic of me. I told someone I was dating years ago. So this is before I had like a big social media, anything in the fitness world, like any of that. But I was getting into bodybuilding at the time. And I remember telling them straight up, I'm like, if and when you break up with me, I was like, I will be sponsored by your favorite brand and you will have to see my face every day. Like just making that a goal.
Were you though?
One of them, yeah. Or like, yes, kind of.
What was the other one? Is it What I Think?
Probably not.
Is it?
I have no clue what you're alluding to. But either way, I even use it now of like, I'm going to have a huge fitness brand and like, you're going to have to see it everywhere.
I always think about like, I don't know if it's a TikTok sound. They're like, you're going to be sick of me.
No, exactly.
You're going to be sick of me.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mine's like, I'm going to be on TV. You're going to do it.
Exactly. Have fun. Oh, you're visiting New York? I'm on the billboards.
I own New York, bitch. I love how we could go from being like love yourself, like you got this girlies, to being like, you're gonna be sick of me.
Well, sometimes it is an emotional response of like, you gotta prove the people wrong, because if you believe their narrative, then again, you're stuck. You're gonna get stuck.
I mean, truly, if either of us listen to all of the things, all of the nonsense that we've been hearing on social media about the dreams that we have, the goals that we have, like we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys. And yeah, those things sucked. Like, and it didn't feel good, especially because a lot of times it comes from the people that you love the most, you know? And I mean, I told this story at the retreat a lot, but I remember when I came home and told my mom and my dad, like, hey, you know, I'm breaking up with the boyfriend that you thought I was going to marry. This was like, before I was even in bodybuilding. And I was like, I'm quitting my salon job and I'm becoming a bodybuilder. They literally like jaws on the floor. What are you doing?
Yeah.
That like, how are you going to survive? Like, how are you going to make money and stuff like that? And, you know, it comes from like a genuine place of like worry and care about me. And now they're like my biggest fans.
Yeah, exactly.
They sometimes want me to compete
and
more than I do.
Yeah, it's not because it was coming from a negative place,
Yeah.
but then you had a decision to make of like, do I listen to these people and do I start to worry about myself, or do I fully believe in myself right now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And emotional discipline is like, it's the art of responding, but not reacting. So you can honor and you can hold space for like that discomfort, but that's when you let that discomfort derail you from your goals. Like Kendall was just saying, that discomfort of maybe other people's feelings about it, you know, maybe the doubt and the fear and like what's going to happen and trying to figure out all the logistics. When you let that derail you and shift, that's when you start to abandon yourself again. So you can feel the heavy stuff, but you can still make moves.
Yes.
Two things can exist at once. So
True.
The next one, physical discipline. All of us know this one here pretty well, but that's honoring your body with consistency rather than like control. So physical discipline, like it's not rooted in like punishment or about chasing perfection. You know, it's a act of self-respect. Like you love your body enough to move it and give it what it's needing,
Take
what it
care of
asks
it.
for, because our body does so much for us. And like, this is a way that we can love and we can honor it.
I feel this one with like doing cardio, where for a while I was telling myself a narrative of like, I'm not a cardio girl. I don't like cardio. I'm not going to do it. And then like, I think I was recognizing I was like getting winded going upstairs sometimes, or like I felt like I couldn't push myself in certain leg days because like I would have to take a long break after my set because my heart rate was so high. So just like creating that form of discipline of like, I'm just going to start doing, I think I started with like 15 minutes on the treadmill, like after or before every single workout. And literally just like that little bit of discipline I instilled, like started showing up for my health in other ways. And I'm sure like actually created a healthier heart for myself. So I feel like that's just like the only or biggest example for myself recently of like, I still have discipline in all these other aspects of my life, but like cardio was the one thing I wasn't doing for my body.
Exactly.
And then finally I introduced it, and guess what? Made all the other things easier to do.
It's
so
true. And it's like you need to build these like rituals, and everyone's is going to be different. Now we have a lot of like gym girlies here, but building like these rituals that fuel you, that make you feel like how powerful you truly are. They give you more energy. And I have different rituals like than Kendall does. Like we both have certain things and ways that we move our body that elevate us and help us sustain this version of us that we're creating. I feel like for me, like yoga is one of those things where there was a time like period where I was like, fuck, I don't really want to do it, you know? And then I started it back up again, and I had to have that physical discipline to go and move my body in that way, because it's not easy, especially
it's not like natural for you.
No, it's not.
Me either.
And sometimes it can be uncomfortable when you have people in the room that are freaking feet above their legs, and I'm over here like, but I, just doing it for a couple of weeks, I'm already starting to see like this is honoring my body by doing this, because I put my body through a lot, and it deserves to have like designated time to like stretch.
That's
meditate.
how I feel about massage. For some reason, like massage is an essential for what we do with bodybuilding and what we put our body to. But there's so many weeks where I will skip my appointment or like push it off because it feels like a luxury, but it's not a luxury. I need to do these things so that I can show up in the gym, so that I can push myself and pose and do the side of bodybuilding that is more comfortable for me to do than going and getting a massage.
I'm a big fan of like manipulating yourself in a positive way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like with the yoga, the way that I started getting into it was I was like, Julia, this is going to help you have more flow with your posing, be able to move and twist your hips in a way that you can't. And that's what got me to go and do it. And now I'm reaping all the other benefits that honestly, you know, and it did actually help with my posing. People ask me all the time, like, why is your flow so good? I'm like, because when I'm doing yoga, I'm acting like I'm doing my routine on stage. Like just how they want me to go from one pose to another, I'm doing that within yoga and it translates.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I like that.
The last one is spiritual discipline. And this is staying so connected to your vision even when it's blurry, even when it feels so far away and it's scary. This is about remembering the woman that you're becoming along the way there. And it's something that you can use as like an anchor to get you to show up for yourself in the best way that you can when it's blurry, when you can't see it. It's really difficult to be like at the beginning of a journey and know that you want something that feels so far off and you can't really see it. You can't even imagine like what it could look like. And it could be really hard to keep going because it feels like so far away. But when you're so connected to your purpose, then taking those steps like day in and day out, it becomes easier. And eventually this present version of you meets that future self.
I feel like
it's wild and unbelievable, like when it happens.
It makes me emotional every time I reflect on like
oh my gosh.
Younger Kendall and what her goals were.
She would freak out, right? She'd be so proud of you.
And I feel like that's the perfect telltale sign of like, are you doing what like you want to do? Of like reflect on you even a year ago. Would she be proud of your choices right now? If she's not, I feel like that's a telltale sign of like reevaluate what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong right now, because there's definitely like some avenues of my life. I feel like just with my scatterbrain of it all, I'll really dive into like one niche thing I'm working on, but then I might forget about a few of the other avenues along the way. And I think just like reassessing of what your priorities are and making sure you're including all of those in your everyday practice instead of just like the one thing at hand, especially like in prep. I feel like prep is such a single-minded, like I'm working to stage, I'm working on getting lean, where I sometimes forget about like
the emotional, the spiritual.
All of these other things I need to be keeping up with.
Okay. Well, then I'm curious, like, what would you say? Okay. Well, you know what? Never mind. Because I was just going to say, I feel like I already know them all, but
okay.
Anyway, so now let's talk about where most people get stuck. So I'm going to go over these really, really quickly because I forgot how long my outline is.
Okay.
I got really passionate when I was creating this one. And I was like, when I get passionate, like I type really fast and I get all hot and sweaty. But the first one is you're stuck in the all or nothing mindset, where it's like you're 110% in all your goals, or you just like abandon everything. Yep. So the swing to the left is inevitably the swing to the right. Kendall and I have both done this, where we have been almost conditioned to believe that if we're not doing everything perfectly, like at 110%, then it's not good enough. It's not enough. Yep. Bodybuilding prep is a very good example of this, where it is extreme. Sometimes you're going at 110%. Let's call that the swing to the left. And if you're not used to it, when you're done being extreme, focusing on like being perfect, you might swing really far to the right, where you abandon yourself, you give up, you stop doing all of the things that make you feel so good. And if you do that swing enough times and you get sick of yourself, inevitably we're going to end up in that middle. Yeah. And what's crazy is that's the hardest place for us to be. We've been all in 110%. We've been negative 5%. So why is that like sweet spot seem so difficult?
That's such a good point because it is true. Like having extreme discipline isn't hard when that's all you know,
Yes.
if that makes sense. But as soon as you get a taste of like doing nothing, you're like, well, suddenly this is enticing. And then it's like you become so sick of that you switch back onto 100% discipline mode where, yeah, that is such a tiring and like just gruesome cycle to be stuck in.
Really
That
is.
and I think that's why I was so scared to return to like competitive bodybuilding because I was like,
I don't want to go back there
I haven't
again.
been at 110 in a while. Like, can I handle it? And I think I had to take baby steps and really prep myself to find like you can be 110 and come back to like an 80. Like let's just chill at 80% and like that is good enough and you don't have to feel like a failure because you're not quote unquote perfect.
Yeah,
you know?
and I feel like the past like couple of years, like from when you last competed until now, like you were practicing that sweet middle area. And
I finally found a 50.
Yeah,
where I
and
was
like and once she got it down, then she came back and was like, I think that I'm ready. Like in all aspects of my life, like I am ready. And that's the work that most people don't do.
Learned to love myself at that 50. I feel like that was so much of it is like, I didn't feel like I deserved my own like worthiness or self-love if I wasn't at the 110%.
True.
You
like
know,
if
so
you weren't going like balls to the wall, you're like, I suck.
Yeah, because I think that's where I found self-love. So I was like, oh, if it doesn't look like this, I can't have it. So that goes back to that like unworthiness creating like your lack of discipline, you know?
Very true.
I think just like loving yourself through all the stages, even when it's hard and you don't love your actions, I think makes it all a lot easier.
Yes, it all has like a purpose.
Yeah.
It does. It doesn't feel like it. And you guys might be listening to this and be like, shut up, Julia. No, it doesn't. I feel awful. Another one is needing external validation in order to be motivated. So this is where your motivation is tied to like how others see or perceive you, like the compliments, the attention. And this is when your discipline becomes super fragile because the moment that nobody's watching, like there's no end goal, there's no trophy, there's no race, there's no bonus that you get. It's like your effort stops. And this shows up, this can show up in different aspects of your life. Like this happened to me after my first show. Like the show was over and the trophy I won, the photos, like all of it was gone. Like it was gone in a second. So my motivation went with it. So I had to find my motivation and my discipline. It tanked. So I had to find that and how to cultivate that within myself without needing a thing or anybody else making me do it.
Yeah, I feel like that's why we speak so heavily to like enjoying the process of prep or like enjoying the process of your fitness routine and not just being so focused. We've said it a million times. When you're only focused on the end goal, whether it comes or it doesn't come, you're going to be disappointed, you know, versus if you enjoy like day in and day out the practice of working on the thing or towards the thing or working on yourself for yourself, that's so much more fulfilling always.
Oh, it really is.
Because external validation like seems really shiny and nice, but like what you're saying, as soon as it slips away, as soon as like we both know when we document our preps or like when we're leaner, we're getting more likes, we're getting pushed more because like people like being motivated by other people. And as soon as that drops because maybe we're not prepping or maybe like our physique isn't that person's goal anymore, it's so hard to not blame yourself and be like, oh, like nothing I do matters anymore. Like it's such a funny world we live in with social media being like, it's so easy to tie your worth to it. And I think even if you're not like a quote unquote influencer or doing it for work or whatever, like I think everyone experiences that where like, if you put something out there and it doesn't get received by other people, you're like, am I a failure? Am I a loser? Like, ugly. Exactly. So it sounds dramatic, but like, it's hard not to tie your worth to external validation sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I totally get
or
that.
even the people around you and their approval.
Exactly.
You know?
Like it doesn't even have to be social media. It can just be the people that are in your circle. Another one is, this is kind of what we talked about at the beginning, but associating discipline with self-criticism. So for many of us, like discipline, the way that it sounds like in our head is, it's like very harsh. It's like, you better not fuck it up.
Yeah.
The amount of times that I'm like, Julia, don't fuck it up. You know, and then I have to like pull back and be like, you know, chill, be human. It's like you weren't good enough, try harder, push, do more and more and more and more. And I was talking to the girls in the Know Your Power program about this the other night. And I literally did this after my match.
Immediately. Like
and
not even 2 seconds later.
My friends caught me because my friends are awesome. That's what good friends do.
I do love that our friend group calls each other out.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll let you
They
explain.
called me out twice, like on two, like I had two huge realizations that day, and I was like, yeah, that needs some work. The first one was like not really like appreciating my success in the moment and going immediately to what I could have done better. Did I deserve to win? Was it the best that I could perform at? What am I doing next? And then all of them were like, Julia, stop.
I appreciated that. And like our friend Maya is so amazing at this. And I've been trying to take like little notes from her book where not only did we go like reassuring her, obviously, yes, you deserve this. You crushed that. That was so badass. We're so proud of you. But Maya like immediately clocked and said like, why don't you feel like you deserve this right now? And it's like, oof,
and I was like,
oof. Oof, I do that.
I was like, I don't know. It's something to talk about in therapy.
Yeah. Where like sometimes it is like it takes someone calling it out to be like, wow, I just did that and I do this often, where like a lot of us do it. But I think having friends that love you enough to be like, and let's
also,
work on this.
Yeah. Like, and also being, if you're on the receiving end, being willing enough to receive it.
Yeah.
Like I know that our friend group is very special to where like when we do give each other feedback, like 99.9% of the time, like it is received because we are willing to like grow and evolve. But I would love for all of you guys to have some semblance of that, where that friend, even if it's just one, even if it's like a family member that's like, yo, stop that right now. I even, there was one girl that I met at the gym. And I kept noticing that she was looking at herself in the mirror and picking at her physique. And I said, hey, girl, I was like, stop doing that.
The way I would have crumbled.
I was like, stop doing
but
that.
in like in a good way.
And she goes, doing what? I was like, you look amazing. And you keep looking at yourself in the mirror like you don't.
Yeah.
And she was like, how did you know? And I was like, I see it all over you. I said, be nice to my friend.
Yeah.
I said, be nice to my friend.
Exactly.
And just having that friend group that you can do that with each other. So I did that after my match, and that's just another spiral. But last one is being not being honest about your priorities. We talked about this a little bit with like how I was feeling, you know, moving through being at the salon job and just feeling like everything sucked and blah, blah, blah. One of the most common things that people say is like, I don't have enough time. Like we can make excuses for anything, you know? But time is honestly rarely the issue. And we tell ourselves that we're committed to making change, but our daily actions don't align with that change that we want to make.
Yeah. This one shows up for me a lot because I am a procrastinator. I'm no longer associating as one, actually. Let me reframe. I tended to procrastinate a lot in the past, and that's something I'm actively working on because like it's one of those things, it's a trait I see in my father. I am my father's daughter, where love you, dad, he's a procrastinator. And it's like one of those things of like, I could choose to become that, or I could work against it, since I know like maybe it might be part of how I was raised or how I like saw and caught instead of taught, where that just comes up so much where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm working on that thing. And it's like, did you actually work on that thing today? Not at all.
Yes.
You thought about it once and that's not enough.
I also feel that same kind of feeling when people say, I'm trying. I'm like, are you trying or are you doing? There's
like,
a difference.
what is trying if not
because
like,
I've said that, like, I'm trying to get in shape. And it's like the word is so important to me, because if you were actually like doing it, then I'm trying to explain this. It's like trying is like, it's like you're dipping like a pinky toe in.
Yeah, you're not like diving into the thing.
Doing it is like you're showing up for yourself, even if some days like you're not the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I hear someone saying like I'm doing the thing, like I'm doing it, that doesn't mean that the person that's doing versus trying is any better or whatever. It's more so the person that's doing it seems like they are like 10 toes in.
They're at least believing in themselves.
And if they mess up, like then they mess up, and that's life. But the person that's trying is like pinky toe, still not sure.
like
testing
you're already
the waters, like
already
you're
doubting.
already like assuming that you're not going to do
This
it.
is one I use with clients a lot, where like at the Know Your Power retreat, the workout after the retreat itself.
I'll try.
Yeah, I was in charge of pendulum squats, and so many people, like if I was talking to the whole group, I was like, okay, sick, like who wants to go up and weight? Like what can we go to? A 25, a 45? And if a few people said 45, the other one or two would be like, I'll try it. And I'm like, if we're putting it on there, you're doing it.
Yeah.
And if you can't lift it up, I'll take it off. But you're doing
I got
it.
you. I'm right
You're not
here.
trying. You're not going to do a half a rep. You're going to go for
That's
it.
true.
And you're going to get it up 90% of the time. But if that 10%, if you need a hand, I'm here to spot you, you know?
Exactly.
So I yelled at all of them to not say try. I was like, you're going to do it.
Like instead being like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like even if it's like we'll see, but it's like, I'll
Like
do
I
it.
might break my leg, but I'll do it.
But you'll
It's
be
like
here,
I
right?
prefer that than I'll try it.
Yeah, and like
what are we doing? Racking it and then racking it back on? Like, let's be
I'll
real.
do one and we'll just do a little test, you know? I think this one is really difficult because it requires you to point the finger at yourself. And most of that doesn't feel good. I still don't like to do that.
Yeah.
I would rather blame time, the moon cycle, my period, my mom, my dad. Like we can do that all day. We can. And some of those are valid and hurtful and sometimes traumatizing. Yes. But if you stay with those stories, they only are going to hold you back. They really will. So having that radical responsibility and honesty to point the finger at yourself and be like, girl, you know what? You're saying that you want to lose weight, but every weekend you're going out and drinking.
Yeah.
Every weekend you are ordering DoorDash. You're sleeping in super late so that you miss your workout. You're on your phone
for the gym.
2 hours a night.
Yep.
And then you're complaining that you're tired.
Wake up.
I did all of these things. This is just me talking about myself.
Yeah.
So it can be difficult. It's easier to blame it on so many other things. So just pointing the finger at yourself and not in a way of like, you suck, you do everything wrong, but in a way of being like, okay, well, break it down. Like break down what your day looks like. And you're like, oh, dang, you're right. I did spend 2 hours on social media watching what everybody else is doing with their goals in their life. And I'm not doing anything towards mine. So yeah. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is like all of this is no doubt feels very hard. Like the answer sometimes seems easy, but like doing the actual work to have more discipline and to have that love for yourself so much that you're willing to do that. But there is two different kinds of hard. There is the hard that's you just stay exactly where you're at in shame, doubt, maybe even regret. We've all had one of those like older relatives that's like, I wish in my day I would have done that. We don't want to be that, okay? We don't, right? We want to go all out in the things that we want in this life, even if it turns out differently than we expected. At least you tried and you don't have to think.
At least you can say you went for it. Yeah.
What if? Then there's also the heart of change, which is effort, discomfort, growth, breaking patterns that might have been ingrained like for a very long time, but you get to choose which one. Yep. The heart of staying the same and the uncomfortability that comes with that, or the heart of change where there's growth, there's evolution, it's uncomfortable, it's messy, it might not be clear all the time. You get to choose. One of them keeps you where you at, one of them can cause you to grow.
Yeah. I feel like leaning into the heart of change is like way more fulfilling. You're not going to be fulfilled if you're exactly where you are and you know you don't want to stay there, you know?
Exactly. Because dang, I just going the rest of your life, staying right there.
That's like my biggest fear, if I'm being so honest.
Of staying this like never changing, never evolving.
Yeah, because I think there were periods in my life where I like stayed the exact same when I didn't want to. And it's like, those are the only times in my life I have any sort of regret or like wish I woke up sooner or believed in myself sooner. Like I've never been mad at myself for going for something and failing. I've been mad at myself for not going for it, you know? I think that's proof enough of like which one, you know, you want to lean into.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we don't want to be a
I'm so scared.
We don't want to be like old and be like, I wish I would have done this.
I mean, sometimes
that's our goal. That's
some
our goal.
stuff takes me freaking years and like a shove from someone else in my life. Like sometimes even now feeling like I do believe in myself a lot, I still like starting Midnight Motive, dude, took me years of being like, oh, I really want to own my own clothing brand. And it's like, so do it. So work on it. So research it. And I would start and then I would stop because of all of the fears we listed earlier of like, I don't believe in myself. What if it fails? What if it's a flop? What if no one buys it? And it's like, at least you made the thing that you've been wanting to make, you know? Exactly. But that took me so long to take that one step of like first collection. And now it's going to be active work every few months of being like, okay, next collection, let's keep reinvesting into this and like working on building it. And that can be said for like anything in your fitness routine of like, okay, now you're consistent in the gym. What else can we work towards? What are your goals? How can you push yourself? Like you don't just want to move backwards or stay where you're at, you know? That doesn't feel good.
Big facts. I remember how long it took me to just like start YouTube. I had wanted to do it for like 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Like that's when I first had the idea. I even filmed a whole video. Yes. I don't know where that is. And I remember watching it and being like, you look so dumb. I was like, you're saying everything wrong. You messed up. You tripped over your words. And now like we're over here.
Who cares?
Not even caring what we say. Like you never thought we'd be here.
That's like the one I think I get the most. You were talking about the DM you got earlier about competing. I have so many people because like I feel like my YouTube is very I'm FaceTiming my friends type of vibe where I get at least one comment every video of like, I've always wanted to do YouTube. You're making it feel like it's something I could actually do. And I'm like, dude, do it. Yeah. Don't tell me you want to do it. Do it. I'll watch. We'll be subscriber friends.
Yeah. And there's so many different ways to do it. Like I feel like with YouTube and stuff like that, like you're going to be somebody's cup of tea. Just like there's probably people that we're not their cup of tea.
Yeah.
You know?
And I've come to terms with being fine with that because I'm like, I'm not going to change my personality and be something I'm not.
Yeah. Like
how annoying would that be for myself to edit? Yes.
Like there's people that love Sam Sulek. I cannot watch his videos. They bore the shit out of me. I think he's adorable and cute and he's an incredible athlete, but I will fall asleep because he bores me.
But see, that's my cup of tea. I want to feel like I'm in your living room with you.
Yes, you want to feel, and I'm like, come on, like give me, like I need some humor. I need something. And then there's other people that are like annoyed by me. You're
fine.
Somebody's cup of tea.
Yeah.
You are. Don't forget that. So that's discipline being the truest form of self-love. Once we do this, like we start to build this standard like within ourselves. And this is just how you operate through life, like as a woman who leads herself. And you want to be the kind of woman that follows through, that you know that you can count on yourself, that you don't have to rely like on anything else for motivation or inspiration, that you can cultivate this discipline within yourself. And it's such an empowering thing. And we know that all of you have that within you because there was once a time that Kendall and I did not think we had that. We thought we were not God's favorite. We were not God's favorite.
Biggest self-doubter you will ever meet. I like wish I had my old YouTube videos I tried making because I just like...
Did they actually get posted?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I like restarted accounts multiple times.
At least you posted. Mine stayed... mine is somewhere on an SD card, like in a trash plant. Yeah. I don't know.
Mine are now too. But like, even just thinking back, I was like, I did the things which I'm proud about, but I self-doubted myself so hard the whole time that I self-sabotaged every time it started working. So it's like, I just want to like take and shake every single person listening who is experiencing that and just be like, just try or not try, just do it. Yeah. Just believe in yourself and see what happens. Like I fully bought into the fake it till you make it, be delusional, like that type of mindset until it was natural. And now it is me.
Till it's Trelulu.
Yeah.
Hashtag Know Your Power podcast.
Delulu till it's Trelulu.
I mean,
and discipline
really,
is some of that, of believing you can show up, and then you show up and it's like, you did it. That was the proof you needed. 100%. Now keep doing it.
100%. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know it was, it was a long one.
I feel like we could do like a 20-part series on discipline and self-love.
This episode could have been like a 4-part series.
That's okay.
Honestly. But yeah, we love you guys so much. Go out there, Crush it. And as
Yeah.
always, you are more powerful than you think.
Bye.